Hello, everybody. I'm Ryan from Fireside Yankees with my friend and co-host Aiden. And look, today we had a pretty eventful day. Obviously, there was the opening presser for James Rosen, and that probably would have been the subject of an episode today had it not been for some bigger news, right? Giancarlo Stanton's agent, Josh Wolf, who also represents, I believe, Clay Holmes, Kodai Senga, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, some other notable clients. He's a pretty notable agent. And he had this to say regarding the statement from Brian Cashman about he's going to wind up getting hurt again, more likely than not, because it seems to be part of his game. Wolf said, I read the context of the entire interview, or I read the context of the entire interview. I think it's a good reminder for all free agents considering signing in New York, both foreign and domestic, that to play for that team, you've got to be made of Teflon, both mentally and physically, because you can never let your guard down even in the offseason. Now, I read this as you've got to be a little bit tough to play in New York. And that's always been true, right? Like he even says it's a good reminder, not it points out or it reveals a fact that we didn't realize beforehand. It's a reminder. And, end of the day, I really don't think that the Yankees are in a position where they've got to be like, all right, we're out of Yoshinobu Yamamoto. We're going to go pivot elsewhere. The overreactions to this have been crazy. I talked about this a little bit in this morning's podcast, or I guess yesterday's podcast. But Aiden, what are your thoughts on this quote initially? And, how do you feel about the reactions to the quote?
In the past 2 days, out of all of these quotes, what new information have we learned from these two quotes? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Okay? Brian Cashman just stated the obvious. He's calling a spade a spade. Giancarlo Stanton is an injury-prone player. Stan has said it himself. I think it was back in May this year or June. He got hurt and he was basically like, this is unacceptable. I need to be on the field. And then, even after the end of the season, he was like, I played terrible this year. Like, I need to be better. What's getting lost in the whole Cashman quote is that Cashman went on to say that Stanton is a great hitter. Some people may disagree with that after the year he just had, but he was complimenting Stanton. He was calling a spade, though. Giancarlo Stanton is an injury-prone player. Cashman was just saying the quiet part out loud. And now, people are going to read into this Joel Wolf quote of him saying like, oh, like this just, confirms the fact that, New York is a tough market to play in. You got to be made of Teflon to play in New York. He's reaffirming a narrative that has surrounded the New York Yankees for decades. Okay, listen, like it is not new that you have to have thick skin to play in the New York market. Fans want the best and they expect the best. Now, a lot of people are sitting here saying, oh, well, this affects their negotiations with Yoshinobu Yamamoto now because Stanton and him share the same agent. If Yoshinobu Yamamoto really cares that Brian Cashman called one of his players not very reliable because he doesn't stay healthy, then do we want that player? Like if he's that soft? No, but he's not that soft. There's nothing, I don't think there was anything malicious in either of these quotes. Like it's selective outrage, Ryan, that we're getting so outraged about this because they're at one point we want Brian Cashman to be honest. We want transparency. We just want him to tell us how it is. But the minute he does that, he's the bad guy. I don't get it. We get mad when we sit here. We sit here and get mad when Boone and Cashman will start praising a player who's not playing well. Just for sake of example, people were getting so outraged when Boone and Cashman were calling IKF a great player who's, speedy on the base paths and a great fielder. He wasn't, and people got mad about that. But, the minute they are actually honest about what they think about a player, they get in trouble. So, Ryan, I really don't get it. I'm curious, like, what do you think? Like, did you read into this at all? Like, it's a really, really weird situation.
Well, first and foremost, Wasserman Sports, they represent DJ LeMahieu, who's a New York Yankee, Clay Holmes, who is a Yankee. They've represented Hideki Matsui, who was a Yankee, Brian McCann, who became a Yankee, and they've also represented Mike Mussina, who was a Yankee. So unless Josh Wolf is suddenly like the biggest Brian Cashman hater ever, I assure you that this is nothing more than just a client, an agent sticking up for his client, and a general manager calling it how he sees it. I mean, he even said in the conference a priority for, a priority for the next hitting coach. This was before James Rosen was hired. Will be working with Giancarlo Stanton. In a quote in which you basically say, hey, a priority for this next, one of our priorities is helping this player, singling out Stan as a player they want to help over like, the kids, or even saying Anthony Volpe or Austin Wells, or even saying, I wanted a guy who connects with Aaron Judge. He went with Stanton, right? Didn't go with the captain of the team, didn't go with any of their top prospects. He went with Stanton. The organization and Stanton, if they have some ripple in their relationship, I'm sure that gets patched up, right? Like, end of the day, think of the clients that the Yankees have had they've had, for better words, issues with. They sued Jacoby Ellsbury back in 2019 or filed a lawsuit against him. Alex Rodriguez sued the team doctor, and he is represented by Scott Boras. By the way, the Yankees had their dispute with A-Rod publicly. They had their dispute with Ellsbury, and a month after the dispute with Ellsbury was revealed, they signed Garrett Cole. The Los Angeles Dodgers made an 8-year, $300 million offer. The Yankees made a $324 million offer. Garrett Cole deemed that $24 million was enough to sign with the team that, or Scott Boras deemed that it doesn't matter because it's more money. If the Yankees get Yoshinobu Yamamoto, it's because they offered him more money than everybody else. I mean, this is crazy. Like, and for everybody saying there's no positives that comes out of saying this about Giancarlo Stanton. You know what the positive is? The positive is that Giancarlo Stanton might look at that and say, oh, word, and get, and make some alterations. Is that challenging his player a little bit? Sure, but I think this organization could greatly use it. Number two, we're talking about, well, what about what if he didn't say it? Like, what would happen if he didn't say it? Then everybody would have been mad. Everybody would have been frustrated with because the question was about Eric Cressy and his performance. He was defending Eric Cressy. What if people were like, why won't he talk about how injury prone Giancarlo Stanton is? Well, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no winning with this fan base. Brian Cashman came out and defended his entire organization. And we were part of this too. Don't get me wrong. We were running out like, hey, he said we're pretty fucking good. What is this? Right? You know what I mean? Because it's not a great look. So if you can't defend your organization, if you can't criticize your players, what can you do? What are you supposed to do? And the answer to that question is, for this fan base, nothing. And that's fine. I think actions matter more than words. Brian Cashman could say to the camera, he could go bold-faced, pan, just stare straight at the camera and go, we're going to get Juan Soto. It won't mean anything for me until he does it. You know what I mean? So I said this with Alex. I've said this with you. I've said this with anybody and everybody and on every social media platform, any way I could speak. You just need to get good players. Nobody gives a shit about this quote. The only people who give a shit about this quote are fans. Yoshinobu Yamamoto doesn't care. The dude has 2 Sour Moral Awards. Those are the equivalent to the Cy Youngs in the MPB. He's got, no, not 2, excuse me. He's got 3. He's won 3 straight. 3 straight Triple Crowns. WBC title. Gold medalist. NPB championship. 2 MVPs. They haven't announced the MVP for this year for the Pacific League, so he could win 3 straight MVPs. He's done this all at the age of 25. So explain to me if this guy is phased. If this guy's phased by New York, as you said, go sign somewhere else. Go sign in Milwaukee, dude. Go sign in, Pittsburgh. He's not going to do that. You know why? Because the Yankees have money. And where else is he going to go? The Giants, San Francisco, there's a big market there. The Mets, it's literally New York. You know what I mean? Like, Aiden, where exactly is Yamamoto going to sign if he hates big markets, as fans have deduced?
Nowhere. It's been rumored that Yamamoto expressed that he wants to play in a big market. And when you play in a big market, scrutiny comes with it. And I am almost 99.999% sure that Yamamoto knows that. Playing in a big market means coming with a lot of scrutiny, okay? And here's something that I forgot to bring up. There is a huge crowd of Yankee fans that miss George Steinbrenner and his ways. They miss his cutthroat ways where he was just honest. He was always entertaining. He was calling people out. So people are getting mad at Brian Cashman for being honest. If I'm being honest, he took a little bit of a page out of Steinbrenner's book saying that, we can't rely on Stanton because he's going to wind up getting hurt. But like, I don't even think he was trying to be malicious in that comment. But let's say he was. We're getting mad at that? Because here's the thing about George Steinbrenner, okay? The Yankees lost the World Series in, like, I want to say 1980 or 1981. I'm really mixing the dates up, but they lost the World Series. And the next day, George Steinbrenner issued a public apology to the press, apologizing for the team's poor performance. He fired and hired Billy Martin 5 times. 5 times. It was wildly public. It was for the whole world to see. He also called Dave Winfield Mr. May. He called him Mr. May because Dave Winfield wasn't performing in October. People want that back? We want the mantra of George to come back, where we're calling people out, we're making headlines, we're being honest and cutthroat. That's what Cashman kind of did, but I don't even think he was trying to. So how are we going to complain that he was being so blatantly disrespectful to Giancarlo Stanton when it really wasn't? So let's pick a side here. Do we want George? Do we want George's ways back, or do we not? So, but yeah, I digress. I'm sorry, I got a little carried away there. No. As for where Yamamoto could go, outside of a big market, where is he going to go? Is he going to go to the Mariners? They're not ponying up whatever the Yankees or Mets are ponying up. Okay, like, he knows that if you're going to play in a big market, there's going to be scrutiny. This guy has so many accolades to his name. He's only 25 years old. He's projected to be one of the best starting pitchers in the major leagues next year. I don't think this guy is worried if a team's GM said, hey, we can't really rely on this one player because, he gets injured a lot. It's kind of expected. So yeah, Ryan, that's what I got. I'm sorry I got a little carried away there, but yeah, that's what I got.
No, you're good. Like, look, and another thing I want to say here is everybody's so fixated on the Yankees don't support their players. Let's talk about the suitors for Yoshinobu Yamamoto, right? The Giants, the Red Sox, the Dodgers, the Mets. I guess the Cubs will throw in there. I don't really have an example for the Cubs, so sorry. I mean, maybe he just goes to the Cubs then, right? So we talk about, okay, well, the Yankees don't support their players. Okay, Alex Cora publicly called out Alex Verdugo prior to the season. And then Alex Verdugo got, he was challenged publicly by his manager. And so he said he identified Verdugo as somebody who needs to take a big step forward in 2023. They have had public friction regarding, he's been benched for not hustling or showing up late or whatever it may be. For the Giants, Ross Stripling was publicly came out and aired a grievance about being placed on the Phantom IL, and then made another comment saying, I expect to be pulled, quote unquote, into the principal's office for making those comments. And then you have the New York Mets. Their situation is, well, Andy Martinez was pretty blunt. He's like, they're going to have a harder time landing Yoshinobu Yamamoto. So if the New York Yankees, if the Yankees, them doing this, and by the way, all of the events I've documented have happened in the last calendar year. I'm not talking about something that happened in 2021, or I'm not citing incidents that have occurred with people who are no longer in the organization. Alex Cora is still the manager of the Red Sox. Farhan Zahadi is still the GM of the San Francisco Giants, and the ownership group has remained the same. And then in regards to the New York Mets, right? Like that was an Andy Martinez report about Yoshinobu Yamamoto. So if the Yankees are going to have a harder time now, I guess everybody in baseball is going to have a harder time. And if everybody in baseball is going to have a harder time, I guess everybody's got the same shot, right? Maybe it's just the Cubs then. Maybe the Cubs are the perfect team for Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and he'll sign there, and there's not even going to be a sweepstakes. My point is, everybody is acting as if this is the first time an organization has called out their player. Like you mentioned with George Steinbrenner, the dude did not know how to not talk. The dude loved talking, maybe a little bit too much, right? Which I can respect. I love talking. Talking is one of my favorite things to do. That's why I do this job. But end of the day, man, is Brian Cashman never gonna speak to Josh Wolf again? Are they not gonna connect? Are they not gonna have heavy conversations? Are the Yankees not gonna have a great offer for Yoshinobu Yamamoto that's gonna be heavily considered? None of that's gonna change. The only thing that's gonna change is the perception of what happens if he signs. Now, if the Yankees don't sign Yoshinobu Yamamoto, everybody's going to blame it on the Stanton thing, which even if they get Soto, even if they, acquired Shota Imanaga and acquired Cody Bellinger or acquired the best players in the market and they got Soto, it wouldn't be enough. So this is just like I just feel like this is the dumbest story this is one of the dumbest stories. Like, there have been a lot of weird events I feel like that have gone on with the Yankees. The Brian Cashman presser as a whole was pretty crazy. The Stanton thing as a whole, like, for the last 2 weeks, Yankee Land's been a little bit crazy. I can't really put my foot on what's going on here, but Yankee Twitter has really been crazy, and the news cycle and everything, right? I don't know if there's a sole reason for it, but end of the day, man, like, the whole saga with the Yankees right now, it's weird. Like, things are weird in Yankee Land. I just need everybody to calm down a little bit. I just need everybody to relax, and just breathe, because end of the day, right, the Yankees are going to have their foot in the door in every conversation with free agency, and they're going to have active conversations with Yoshinobu Yamamoto. They're going to be active on the trade front. It's a matter of getting it done or not. Like, I think quotes don't really matter as much as action. And I think that's something that Yankee fans just kind of at some point have to understand. You're going to get mad every time Brian Cashman talks. And that's okay. You're going to be mad every time you see Howell's face. You're going to be mad every time Aaron Boone says, it's right around the corner. It's about action. It's about how they play. It's about what they do in the offseason. That's all you should really care about at this point. Because Brian Cashman is the first time, I think, in how long that the Yankees have actually given actual answers and haven't just settled out without saying anything. So anything you want to add on, Aiden?
Yeah, just I agree. This is one of the weirdest stories I've ever come across. Like, it's just like I don't understand why there's this much controversy around it. I really don't see either the quotes from Cashman or Wolf as malicious. I think both of them were really just calling a spade, but I think it's because we're at that point in the offseason where, nothing is happening in the news really for baseball. So every little piece of news that comes out, not just Yankees fans, but baseball fans in general, will be super, super reactionary about it. This happens every year. We get a little bit of news and then everybody gets up in arms, and that's the end all be all. But yeah, Ryan, that's all I got.
Hey, look, and before I wrap things up, I wanted to at least, I know this isn't relevant to the Yankees or whatever, but Peter Seidler, the Padres owner, passed away, and look, he was one of the few owners that, not even just in baseball, but in all of sports, who have been, publicly adamant about caring about winning more than profit. The Padres are were considered a small market team, and he's spent like a big market owner. So, hopefully, not just baseball, but all of sports can have owners who feel that same way regarding, profit versus winning. And, rest in peace, and, prayers out to his families and the entire Padres organization. Obviously, that whole situation, kind of rocked baseball. That news came out of nowhere. So I did want to throw that in there. But with that being said, we appreciate you guys for tuning in. Let us know what you guys think. Like, I think this is a weird story. Like, this is I'm adamant about it being a dumb story, but Aiden, I'm crazy enough to be angry to talk about it for 20 minutes. So, thank you guys a lot for tuning in. If you guys enjoy our content, make sure to follow us on our various social media platforms. We've got an Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, and of course, this YouTube page where you guys can subscribe. Subscribing and liking is free, and it helps us in the algorithm. And if you guys turn on the notification bell, you won't miss out on anything going on with the Yankees. So there's going to be a lot of news cycles coming out. And if you guys want to be up to date on everything, we're your one-stop shop for Yankee content. So yeah, again, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.